What up? It's your boy, Incredible Man. Yes, I'm back at it again, and this is Dr. Stone, episode 22, discussion/review. And I'm just gonna go out on a limb and be 100% with you guys. This was my favorite episode. I really, really love this episode. It was so well done, and the ending was just such a nice, wonderful ending, and it just made me smile and feel so much joy and excitement from everything that happened. So let's dive right into the episode, man. So this episode picked up right after last week's episode, where we have SENKU and Chrome getting ready to go into the cave, and SENKU decides to bring Magma along as the third member of the party because he needs the strength to help him break up the rocks and tote the rocks back to the camp, well, the Ishigami village. So this whole episode, even leading up to this, like last week's episode, everybody questioned it, and I did as well, but I was fine with him choosing Magma. I was like, okay, well, this is going to be like a little building for Magma. And then I was gonna be like I was wrong, but this episode, it really changed that on me, because as they were getting ready to leave the village, Gin said something to Magma. Now, I didn't know what he said until later in the episode, but I felt like what he was saying was something to deter Magma away from attacking Chrome and SENKU once they get off in the cave, because I felt like that's what he was going to do, and that was the thought that was running through his mind at the beginning of the episode. But he changed as they got in the cave, and as certain incidents and everything started happening, and we got to see a different Magma this episode, and I was totally fine with that. That's why this is my favorite episode, along with the Magma stuff and the whole SENKU stuff, because there was so much going on. So I thought that's why he had changed his mind about hurting Chrome and SENKU. But that's not. That had nothing to do with, Gen didn't even mention anything about him hurting Chrome or SENKU. He just said have SENKU back in the village, like on the third day in the afternoon or whatnot. So he changed on his own just by hanging with Chrome and SENKU, because his whole thought, he even mentioned that once they got inside the cave, that he was going to attack them from behind, or or as Chrome would say, he's going to just push us into a deep hole and just leave us in here and tell everyone that we died. But that's not the case. So we're on our way to the cave, and they get to the cave, and Magma's still looking at him kind of funny. So we were a little I suspected him a little bit. We were a little suspect in assuming that, he's going to betray them. It's just a matter of time of when and how he's going to do it. But that wasn't the case. So we get deeper and further in the cave, and we're steady looking, and SENKU comes across, like, I can't remember what he called it. But anyway, it's still rock, but it's so thin and brittle that you can break it apart with your fingers. So them stepping on it would just cause a massive cave-in, and that's how we even saw, like, from the erosion and everything else, that there's a bunch of holes just inside in the footing of the cave. And at that moment, SENKU was getting ready to fall because it was cracking under his feet, and Magma bum rushed him and punched him to save him. But at that moment, I didn't think that he was going to do it he had any kind of motive behind it. But at that moment, Chrome suspected that he was trying to hurt SENKU or kill SENKU and then turn around and kill him. But he saved SENKU from falling into the hole, and at that time, Magma started to fall. And when he was doing that, SENKU saved him. Granted, he couldn't do much because SENKU isn't strong at all. He's very, very weak, but he has a big brain. But and then they both ended up falling into the hole, and Chrome was so adamant about what he was feeling, and that Magma set all of this up while SENKU was holding on to him, that Magma just fed into it and was like, yeah, well, I was going to kill you guys behind everything, but SENKU didn't buy it at all. He didn't buy it for 1 minute. But in that time, they fell into the hole, and they were trapped. And then Chrome was pouring water, and it just was falling on Magma. And he was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And he was like, I'm just going to fill it up with water and let you guys float to the top. But filling it up with those little bottles, he would have been there forever. It would have took him forever. So SENKU came up with a plan to take the gas mask and have, like, like you're siphoning the water out from the little lake or pond that was inside the cave, or pond, or divot or whatever, and fill up the little hole that they're in and just let the water rise and push them out. But in this whole little time while that's happening, while he's Senku's walking Chrome step by step how to create it, Magma is the one that threw up the tubes to him, like the heavy part of the gas mask and everything, to him. So without Magma, they wouldn't have been able to do it. And Senku mentioned that fact, and that's what I'm saying. This episode was great character development for Magma. It wasn't like too big or too drawn out or anything. It was very simplistic and straight to the point on his character development, and I really enjoyed that, and I really, really did. So we see his character development, and we have Chrome fixing everything by Senku's orders and instructions. But then we go back into the hole where Senku and Magma are, and we have them having a whole discussion, and we find out why Magma feels this way. Because he feels like all of the twigs can't really do anything without all of the muscle guys. And he even states the fact that, well, it may be different in your world, Senku, but in this stone world, and I love the way that he mentioned that fact, because that's what Senku always called it, and Tsukasa called it that. Excuse me. But I never heard any of the villagers actually call it the stone world. So it was nice to hear Magma call it the stone world. And this another thing about this episode was having all of the villagers and even Magma, they don't call it what you call it anymore. They don't call it sorcery. They all call it science now, which is a nice fact. But while they were in the hole, they were having like a deep discussion, and Magma was just, he wasn't really pouring out his heart, but he was letting Senku know how he felt about Senku taking over and becoming the chief of the village and everything. And Magma was like, it was supposed to be me. You know, the chief gets all of the girls and everything and rules the village, and that's what he wanted. But with Senku coming and taking over, Senku ruined all of his plans and everything. But he didn't really go into like a full-blown breakdown or anything. He just was stating what he wanted and how he was feeling about Senku appearing. And then Senku laid out the facts. And even in my world, the twigs still had to rely on the muscle bound guys like you. And they showed a picture of someone that like an architect or someone, and some like the construction people that builds the buildings that the architect creates. Without the architect, you wouldn't have the buildings. Then without the construction workers, you wouldn't have the without the architects, you wouldn't have the structure to the design to look at. And without the construction workers, you wouldn't be able to build the design that the architect made. So that was so good. It was a nice comparison, and that was a prime example of having both the twigs and the muscles working together as a cohesive unit. And I really enjoyed that, and I really love seeing that side of everything. And in that moment, we have Chrome filling everything up, and you can see Magma starts to think about what Senku's saying. And this time, Chrome is filling up the cave, and it's starting to fill up pretty heavy. And the water was lukewarm, but with so much of it coming in, Senku can't really keep up, and he's starting over here. He's shaking and trembling because the water's just slightly cooled. And Magma realizes, he was like, well, I can handle it. So he swims down to the bottom of the little hole, pushes it, and swims back up and puts Senku's on his shoulder and was like, well, you need to get out of here. And he pushed Senku straight up out of the hole. And that's when their whole little trip decided to change for me, and it felt really good. And we have them sitting at the fire, warming up and everything. And Senku was like, well, good thing we got out the hole when we did, because there would have been another moment or so. Then they showed a picture. I would have had to embrace Magma for warmth. And we have Chrome with Magma in a little picture throwing up. So then they make their way to deep or further into the cave, and they come across the actual rock with the tunks in it and everything, and they start to collect it. And then Magma goes into this whole spiel that, yeah, I was going to kill you guys. I was just going to wait because I didn't know what weapons you science users had. And he changed. He didn't even want to kill him anymore. He was just there to collect the rocks and then take Senku back to the village, because at this time we had learned that Gen wanted him to bring him back to the village. But at this time also we have Chrome and Senku. They're just so fascinated by the rocks. Look at these. Look at these. Let's grab all of these and take these back to the village. And Magma was like, no, you guys aren't toting them anyway. So leave these rocks alone. They're just rocks. So it was nice to see that side of Magma and have him kind of bond with everyone. And in that time, also, Chrome apologized to Magma for accusing him of trying to kill them. And he was like, you could hit me, because he felt bad for what he did. But That's not the only thing. And then at the end, it's so funny. You guys, it's so good to see you guys working together, and we and we build a friendship, and like we came for the treasure of the rocks, but we ended up building a treasure of friendship. And Chrome and Senku and Magma was like, oh my gosh, that's so cringy. And Chrome was like, I know it. I realized, shut up. I realized that the moment after I said it out of my mouth. So then we're making our way back to the village. Magma, he's grabbing Senku. He's running back. He ties the blindfold around Senku's face, and they get there, and the whole village had built Senku a telescope and an observatory out of the little shack. All because it was his birthday. Dude, that was phenomenal, man. I was so happy and so overjoyed. And then we even get to see a flashback of Gen looking at the stone where Senku marked when he first was unpetrified, which was April 1st, 5738, I want to say. Well, after death, 5738, I think, or the year 5378. Anyway, and Gen realized that this dude is so cool. So when he met Senku, he already had like an idea of him wanting to be friends with Senku without any strings attached, because he was just so mesmerized that Senku would do something like that. Dude, this whole episode was a bomb, man. I loved every single moment. And the part that stood out at the end was all of the villagers coming together to build the telescope. And then we have Genro. Senku! Yeah, if you want to cry, it's okay. If you want to get emotional, it was so fun. This whole episode was bomb, dude. And as of right now, how it stands, this is my favorite episode. And happy birthday, Senku, man. This is your buddy Incredible. Don't forget to smash that like button so you can't smash it anymore. Comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them. And subscribe. But only if you really want to, man. And remember that anime matters, anime is greatness, and anime is life, man. Peace out.